I'm tired of extraction shooters, not because they're bad, but because there are so many of them. The premise of an extraction shooter is relatively simple. They're normally PvPvE or PvP, and sometimes just purely PvE. You go into the map, find gear and materials, try not to die, and if you get out, you extract and take that loot into your next run, and that is basically the gameplay loop. It's not that complicated. But the game that really got this genre going is Escape from Tarkov. Made by Battlestate Games, it launched in 2017 with its open beta following its earlier alpha. It spent years in development, finally releasing with version 1.0 in November of 2025. And for most of the late 2010s, the genre was still relatively niche. So if you were going to play an extraction shooter, you are more than likely just going to play Tarkov. But then came Hunt Showdown 1896 in 2019. Hunt took the extraction formula and put its own spin on it with bounty hunting, monsters, and a western setting, and it was successful. It eventually peaked at over 60,000 concurrent players on Steam and has maintained mostly positive reviews. But after this is when things really started to change. Major publishers started realizing how much money there is in the genre, so you started seeing them a lot more often. Call of Duty had Warzone DMZ, which released in 2022. The Psycho Frontier came out in 2022. Marauders also came out later that same year. And then there was Dark and Darker, which is a game that I have actually played, and it was okay. And that's kind of my point. I'm sure most of these games aren't necessarily bad, it's just that there are so many of them in such a little time. It's honestly just becoming the new battle royale. PUBG popularized battle royales, and then Fortnite absolutely blew the genre up. And in a matter of time, almost every single major shooter franchise needed their own battle royale. And now we're starting to see the same thing with extraction shooters. Call of Duty already has the extraction mode DMZ and is planning to bring it back when Modern Warfare 4 releases this year. Even PUBG is working on their own extraction shooter that's going to come out later down the line. From 2024 to now, we've seen some of the biggest extraction shooters yet. Some of them are doing a unique spin on the genre. Delta Force, for example, has an extraction mode that takes the formula and puts it into a larger military shooter, and it's been extremely popular. Its peak on Steam was just under 250,000 concurrent players, though the reviews are mixed. But one thing I've noticed about extraction shooters is that people just do not like the games but continue to play them. It's very similar to how people are with games like Rust and Ark Survival. But that brings me to the biggest extraction game, Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders released in October of 2025 and absolutely blew up. It peaked at nearly 500,000 concurrent players on Steam and has reportedly sold around 15.5 million copies, making it one of the biggest games of the year. But not every extraction game has been as successful, and I think the most notable example is Marathon. Marathon is made by Bungie, the studio behind the earlier and original Halo games and the Destiny series. It's also the first game by Bungie since being acquired by Sony for $3.6 billion in 2022. And instead of making a new Destiny 3, they decided to jump into the extraction shooter genre with Marathon. Now, I actually really wanted Marathon to succeed. I'm a huge fan of Bungie, and Destiny is one of my favorite shooter franchises. And even though I am not an extraction player by any means, I can really see the appeal with Marathon, especially when it comes to the art style, graphics, and art direction of the game. Maybe not so much the gameplay, but if you follow my channel, you know I like motion graphics. I'm actually currently studying motion design, and seeing all the stuff in Marathon was a treat. It seriously has some of the best graphic design, motion graphic design I think I have ever seen in any game before. They even made a very good short film directed by Alberto Miogo, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, who has done episodes in Love, Death, and Robots just for the announcement trailer. And I've been really wanting to talk about Marathon on this channel. I just have not had a big enough video to justify doing it, and unfortunately the game just has not performed anywhere close to where Sony and Bungie expected it to. Even though it has positive reviews from critics and players, its player count has fallen dramatically from its launch. The game is currently sitting around 4,000 players, and its all-time peak was under 90,000 on Steam. And when you combine it with the game's enormous development costs, it's a pretty big disappointment. Forbes has reported that Marathon's budget was over $200 million and potentially more than $250 million. The poor performance by Marathon and also Destiny led to Bungie ending live service updates for Destiny, and the team is now completely dedicated to Marathon. And of course, like everyone else right now, most of the Destiny 2 and even some of the Marathon team were just laid off a couple months ago in June. Now Bungie's only focus is Marathon, and with how bad it's doing, I would not be surprised if this is another case of a studio just shutting down. Another one of the biggest issues is that the studios who are making these games have no right to be making them. How could you really expect the team behind Halo and Destiny to make an extraction shooter when they've never made one before? I doubt the Call of Duty one will be that exciting, at least compared to the other ones. And I didn't even know that they had an extraction shooter until I was writing this video. And who knows about the PUBG one, since they really have not made something new in almost 10 years at this point. And I want to make it clear that I do not hate extraction shooters. They're just not for me. There is something genuinely compelling about them, and clearly publishers have noticed that as well. But we have seen this happen before with battle royales. A genre becomes popular, a few become massive successes, but a whole lot of them just disappear. And that's when people can end up losing their jobs. But that is all I have for today. I hope you all enjoyed. Peace.